Hey everybody, this is Doc Mack from the Galloping Ghost Arcade, and we are here doing another gamer profile, this time with none other than Jamie Tibbetts.
Thank you. Hello.
Very well known for his 18 world records with the Arcade system.
Yes.
He's a great player here at the Galloping Ghost Arcade. Also very well known over at the Underground Retrocade over in West Dundee.
I'm a dual citizen.
Yes. So I guess let's just jump right in. Tell me about your first experience in an arcade.
I unfortunately suffer from horrific memory. So I don't remember my first arcade experience. I know as a kid, and I'm an older person, so I was alive when the arcades were actually arcades back in the day. But I mean, like, a kid would have his birthday party. So do I remember anything about them? No. I remember there was a place called Come Play With Me. I think it was in Niles. I looked it up recently because I couldn't remember where. I'm sure I was at Peacock's Palace back in the day in Northbrook. I don't know. So I was not an arcade guy growing up. Like, my parents never took me to arcades. I didn't get an allowance where they're like, yeah, here's $5, go to the arcade. So I think once in a while, a friend of mine would have his birthday party at Haunted Trails. So that was a once a year. We'd all pile in the van, go down there. And once in a while, I think he had his birthday party at Showbiz instead of Haunted Trails. But that was about it.
Are there any games that you specifically remember playing?
One of those kids' birthday parties, I know I played Wizard of War.
Wizard of War.
Because, I mean, once you play that, once you hear the sounds from that game, those are in your head forever. But I definitely remember Super Mario Brothers. I think it was the one at Showbiz where they had, and that's all we played.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Were you, at that time, obviously, you were playing console games?
No, I don't think so. I think that was, I was still Atari 2600 at that point. But as soon as we started playing Super Mario Brothers, I had to have a Nintendo. That was it. We sat on that for hours, because back then you didn't have the internet, you didn't know anything, none of the secrets. So you spent the whole time just every little brick, where it was awesome. That's probably one of the only things I can remember from childhood. Super Mario Brothers.
So now, would you say, do you play both now? Do you play console stuff, and are you just straight arcade, or?
The pendulum swings. I mean, like I said, I was never an arcade guy growing up, but I had consoles forever. I think I just only recently stopped getting modern consoles. Like, I don't have a PS4 or an Xbox One. So, I went 2600, then I had a Nintendo. Buddy had a Super Nintendo. I went Genesis. I know you'll like that. I kind of skipped everything else like that from the Sega side. I didn't go down their plummet downwards. Skipped it. Jumped back to Nintendo. So I went GameCube and N64, GameCube, Xbox 360, and then I stopped. But for some reason, as soon as I started coming to arcades here in the Underground, I started collecting consoles again, and now I have pretty much everything. Just not the new stuff. So I've gone back and gotten everything.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you come here first, or Underground Retrocade?
Retrocade. It was in the East Dundee location. I mean, it's like 6 blocks from my house. It's on the main strip. And we kept walking by this corner, and there was an arcade machine in the window. And there was a number, drawn on a piece of paper, and it was like a 7. And then we go by a couple days later and be a 5, and then a 2, and we're like, oh, I know what that means. So as soon as it opened up, I don't know, I was strictly console at the time, so it's like, what do I want to go and just like be by myself and play game? Like, I can stay at home and play with my friends online. So I didn't go in right away. But then once I started going in, I'm like, all right, I get it. I started playing it, and then I started talking to Scott at the desk, and next thing you know, I'm staying there till like 12. At midnight, we both finally get out of the, you sit there and you start talking to people. And it was Duke Dang. Duke Dang was the one that, he was going there, And he was kept walking up to Scott with like his camera showing him his scores, and I was like, what is going on? Like, and then, you know, because Scott had the world records, you know, the cards like you have here on top of the machines. So I knew about them, and I knew about the house highs. But like Duke was coming up with like just his personal scores. I was like, what? So then I'm like, and then he's like, no, you should just submit your personal scores, even if it's not a best. I'm like, all right. I've done that all my life. Like, I've always kind of kept track of my high scores. I'm like, that makes sense. And then he's like, you should come out to the Galloping Ghost. It's great. I'm like, all right. So I kind of connected with him and said, you know, when are you going to be there? I'll show up. And sure enough, I showed up when one of the days he was here, and he introduced me to everybody. And Duke was the ambassador. He got me out here. And for a while, I would come, you know, once a month, twice a month. And about a year ago, I'm like, all right, that's it. That's not enough. So now I'm a once a week kind of guy.
Do you remember the first game you played here?
No, but I think I was, for some reason it was masochistic, but I would sit in the back row. And that was the summer where the AC unit for that corner was not having a good time. So it was like really hot back there, but that was like where all the shmups were. That was like shmup row. And I would just, you know, shmup it up and just wipe sweat the whole time. But yeah, it was something like that. Like once in a while I'll see a game and I'm like, yeah, I remember that was one of the first games. I think it was like the two Dragon Spirit, Dragon Saber, they were both back there. But yeah, it was back in the hot corner. Whatever was back there.
Do you remember your first game that you really put a lot of effort into getting the score on?
I don't think so, because I was a pretty low-hanging fruit kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I would see a score and be like, I could take that. You know, like if a game had just kind of been put on the floor, the score was artificially low, I'll go after that. And then somebody who really knew how to play the game would come in and destroy it. I'm like, no, for a while I wasn't, you know, because there's always that kind of hump you have to get over where you're like, I'm not good enough. Because you see some of the scores, you're like, yeah, no. And then you start kind of getting confidence. You're like, oh, maybe I can do it. And then there's that tipping point where you kind of something clicks in your brain. We're like, you know what, I can do it. And then you start really practicing games and putting up legitimate scores. I don't know. By far the most time I've spent is Don Patrick. I mean, that has erased all memory of like any effort I've put into a game because it has been 100 times more into this game than anything previous.
When you're playing for scores, are you more? Is it an obsession, or is it still it has to be fun for you? Or are there some that it's just like, no, this has to be completed for me to move on?
I don't think I'm like that. I'm not like, you know, so obsessed that if I don't complete whatever goal I started out with, that I will just become obsessed. No, the way I describe it is I'm like an 80% guy. You can usually get a really good score by only putting in 20% to get 80% of this, you know, of a really good score. That's kind of where I am. So I'll spend a while. But as soon as the learning curve for the score starts getting really steep, like I'm out. I'm on to the next game. I mean, we're surrounded by 400 or 500 games here at any given point. So to spend weeks and weeks just to get a little bit extra, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'll get a good score. I'm not going to get a crazy good score. I feel good. Just, I've done my best. Move on.
When you're going for a score, what's your strategy and philosophy behind preparing for it and going for it? Do you play on MAME? Do you watch YouTube videos?
Yes.
So just any scrap of information you can find?
Yeah, the way I describe it is I'm too old. No, because like there's definitely, you and I are about the same age. So when you're young. When we were growing up, you get a Genesis game or whatever. If you didn't have the Electronic Gaming Monthly issue that specialized in the tips and tricks of that game, you're on your own. There's no internet. There's no one to help you. You're just hours and hours of hammering on a game, trying, you know, what if I hit this brick with my head? What if I hit this brick with my head? And it's like 4,000 bricks later. You can do that as an 11 or 12-year-old. You can't do that as a 40-year-old. So I'm all for anything, YouTube video, MAME, anything that just boop, so you can learn as fast as possible and get as good as quickly as you possibly can. Anything that'll help me do it quicker, I'm for.
Cool.
I mean, there's some games where you legitimately want to kind of just try and figure it out on your own. But at a certain point, you're like, I'm wasting a lot of time here, where I could be playing something else.
What's been one of your favorite games to learn, and that you feel you have a very solid mastery of?
I mean, it's Donpachi again. I mean, that is one of those things where I thought I kind of knew my limits for what I could learn and what I was really able to stick to something long enough to do. So I think that's been fun just because I'm not the only one doing it. It's been Fred and Matt, and all three of us have been, practicing at the same time, sharing, tips and tricks, and this is how I do the chain, and how that. So that to me that's been kind of a new plateau for me. I didn't think I would even come close to being able to do that. So I think with that might open up different games now that I know I can put that much time into something. So we'll see. I don't know.
Is it safe to say that shmups are your favorite genre?
I would say so. Although you may have influenced that. Because before I started coming here, I don't think I would have said yes to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you walk into the shmup room and you're just like, ugh. So I think you probably influenced me, if not partially, completely. Like I don't think I would have said that 3 years ago.
If you had to pick your top 5 favorite shmups.
Oh, you gave me a top answer. I'm no good at top answer.
Few. What do you want to play? If you were going on the floor to play 3 different shmups in a row right now, what are you playing?
19XX. I think that's solid. Dragon Blaze is good. I don't know. I've played so many shmups, and it's like I'm into them while I'm playing them. But once I get the score, I rarely go back and play them again. Like, right. I'm not a guy that's like, I have my fun, I get the score, and then I kind of move on, because it's like going back and playing a game I've already kind of achieved a goal in. It's like that's time I could be spending learning a different new shmup. So I'm not really a favorite kind of guy. Like 19XX and Dragon Blaze, I said, because I haven't gotten a score in those yet. Once I get the score, I'll move on, but they're still in my brain, like I gotta go do those.
What are 3 games you would play that aren't shmups?
Oh God. Mercs. I just did Mercs.
Great game.
I'm just looking. Altered Beast. Not the best game, but that's an easy one to pick up if you juice. If you YouTube and MAME, you can play some Altered Beast. But that's one of those, like, I would never want to learn that straight up without YouTube and MAME, because that just would be punishing. So, anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked on the whole MAME thing again. I don't know. I think I said recently I was going to go back and start doing Crackdown again, because that's super fun.
Great
so
game.
I'm trying to kind of vary it a little. Because for a while I was kind of sticking on shmups.
Of the 543 games that we have
Rank
here,
them in order.
how many do you think you've played?
Oh, God.
Like half?
No, not even close.
Not even half.
No, God, Masis was doing like trying to put a score in on every game, and it took him like a year to get to the halfway point. I'm like, not even close. I'd probably say I've even played 25% of them.
Really? Huh?
There's 500 and some games. No, there's no way. It seems like, if you just play a few games every time you're in, you'll get, no. It takes a lot longer than it seems. No way.
Well, tell me some of the differences. Tell me about some of the people that you play with here. And like you play with so many great players here.
Yeah, everybody here's great. Everybody kind of.
Do you remember who you met aside from Duke? Do you remember who you met after Duke?
I think when I got here, he introduced me to the main core guys. Rocco, Matt Walters, Fred. just the regulars that were here back in the day, Teeter. And when I started coming, those were kind of the guys I would, hit up and go, you're going to be there on Tuesday? I'll try and plan whenever I come out, whenever the most number of them would be here.
And you teamed up with Fred Hart, former Gamer of the Year, Fred Hart, for JT and the Hambone.
Schmuppin' with JT and the Hambone.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's been great. I mean, I've met a lot of people here that I would never have met if I had stayed home and played, Xbox Live with a bunch of people. So it's been great. I mean, it truly is. It opened my eyes. Like, you think arcades, it's kind of a solitary thing. You go and play by yourself. Nothing could be further from the truth, man. I come here, and there's always people I know here. You're hanging out, you're playing the same game. It beats sitting at home playing Xbox Live. But yeah, so Fred, he was over at my house one day, and he was talking about doing a podcast. I'm like, yeah, I do a podcast. And we both are shmup guys. And then the name, Schmuppin' with JT and the Hambone, it was like, it was an epiphany. It came to me, and I'm like, that's it. We're doing it. He agreed. And a podcast that all of 7 people watch was born.
And you handle all the post-production on that?
I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm a computer guy, so I'm always learning stuff like that. So that was a good excuse to learn video editing, which I had never done.
Where can people find that?
Schmuppin.com.
That's awesome.
No G, just Schmuppin. You go to schmupping.com, I don't know what you'll get.
What are some of your future goals here at the arcade? Are there any scores that you really want that you have your sights on, again, aside from Don Patchy?
Don Patchy's always there. Like I said, 19XX I think will be my next shmup. Unless I go to ZexX, since you just put the Japanese board in. That was one of the first shmups I really kind of got into. It was the American version, which was brutally hard. Crackdown. Like I said, that's kind of my next non-shmup, and I think 19XX might be my next. Although Metamorphic Force, I kind of had fun. I don't generally like beat 'em ups, but I kind of had fun because it's super fast. It's not like Final Fight is fast enough, but there's so many people that are good at that game. I don't want to do it like Metamorphic Force. That might be a beat 'em up that I could maybe stick with. I get so frustrated with beat 'em ups though. We'll see.
Are you usually focused on one game at a time, or are you working on 5, 6, 10?
No, I think there are some people here that I think Pete's one of them, where he picks a game and just locks in, and he is not satisfied until he destroys it. I am not that way. I can't stick with the one game for a while. That's why Don Patchy's been so weird. Like that's weird for me to spend that much time. But while I was doing Don Patchy, I was always working on 2 or 3 other games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is the first time in a long time I have not come in with like 2 or 3 games planned out. I have no plans today, which is weird. Like I did Mercs, that was my last thing where I came in with a plan. I did it. I don't know. I'm a lost soul. I don't know what I'm doing today. We'll see. It's fun.
Has there been any games, and you just mentioned Metamorphic Force, that you'd never heard of that you saw and were just like, wow, that's really an awesome game?
Edward Randy, baby.
Edward Randy?
Edward Randy, come on.
That was a really good game.
That was good. I liked Edward Randy.
When was is that another one that you? I haven't seen any new scores go in on it recently.
No, see, that's another thing. I'm not a guy. If I get a score, if I put up a house high, I'm not touching that
until somebody else takes it.
I'm like, come at me, because that's the fun for me. I've always been that way. I mean, I was telling Masis on the way over here. I don't know if you had them growing up. I don't know if they still have them, but as a kid, you had a Chandler's notebook. Anyway, it was like a day planner for kids where you'd write all your school assignments in it. You know, being me, I would start out the year meticulously writing my school assignments in it. But then by like 2 months in, you're like, ugh. So I would have months of empty pages in these things. So I converted them into high score books as a kid. And I still have them at home. So I have my old Atari 2600 scores, with columns of my score, my brother's score, my friend's score. So I've always been into that. So if I get a house high here, I want somebody to come take it. So then I have an excuse to go play it. That to me, if I put up a score, I don't want to keep putting it up higher and higher and higher because then no one's going to play it.
True.
I want somebody else to. So there's so many games where I'm like waiting for somebody to play. Like, please take the score so I can come back.
Has there been a game that somebody took the score from you, and you're like, oh, that's it. That's never coming back in my. I'll never have to write that down in my notebook again.
I don't think so. I don't think anyone has really demolished any score that I cared about, at least.
Yeah. What is the score that you care about the most right now? What is your crowning jewel?
I don't think I'd say I don't have one. Like I want somebody to beat all my scores. Like there's no score here that I've put out of reach. So I want somebody to beat every score I have, so I have an excuse to come back.
Now we've run a lot of events here at the Galloping Ghost Arcade. Has there been any events that you're just like, wow, that was really, really awesome?
I've liked the T20s.
D20?
Yeah, because I mean that's right up my alley. Put a bunch of games in a room and competition. Go at it. I mean, I'm never going to win one of those.
You did very well.
I did well, but I'm never going to win.
Very well.
I'm never going to win unless everybody that's better than me stays home.
Well, it's also dependent on if the right games.
No.
You don't think a hand could be dealt that you.
No, not with. If Zurst and Bedard are both in the picture, nope. I lose every time. But it's fun. I'm not like devastated if I don't win an arcade tournament. It's all fun to me.
Do you, is there any other tournaments or event like our Gamer of the Year? Are you always a hopeful for Gamer of the Year? You've been doing some unbelievable things. So
I wouldn't say hopeful, just because until like this past year, I didn't come enough. I mean, you can't impress the judges when you're never here. So now that I'm coming regularly, yeah, I mean it's on my radar. I don't ever expect it just because. I mean, when I'm here, sometimes I'll just you spend 2 hours across the street eating dinner and talking, and to me it's more just coming and playing games, having fun, talking to people.
With Underground Retrocade,
Yep.
Do you play the same games at both locations, or do you focus?
Occasionally. I mean, like, I would consider the Retrocade to be my home arcade, just because it's the first one I went to, and it's literally 5 blocks from my house. I walk there.
Yeah.
So, like, Altered Beast is a good example. I came here, I beat the game here first, and I told Scott, I'm like, don't worry, I'm bringing the score home. So I went, and I beat it, made sure the score went back to the Retrocade. I think I would do that. I would try and do that every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're playing, like, do you focus on, like, do you have other games that you're just playing there that you only play there? Like, obviously the ones that we don't have.
Right.
But, like, are you not playing stuff here just so you can focus on it there?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think there are some games that you've had here that I've gotten into that I've purposely purchased and forced Scott to put on the floor. Like Strikers Plus was, I mean, that was the first one I really tried hard to get the score, I think. So going back to your earlier question, that might be the first one. Because, that was one of the first games we were all playing in that back row. Bracco was playing it, Fred was playing it, and Walters and I were the only two that kind of kept playing it for a while. And that went back and forth between us a couple times. So when I took some time off because I was sick of it and I couldn't get the score. When I got back into it, I bought it because it's a fairly cheap game. And I'm like, Scott, you need to put this on the floor. And luckily he said yes. So I was, that way if I'm really into a game, doesn't matter where I am, I can play it.
Well, I think that almost wraps it up. Is there anything else that you would want people to know about Jamie Tibbetts?
Come take my scores. I want you to take my scores.
Are you one to share your tech?
Absolutely. I don't have this hidden tech.
Well,
Secret Ghost Lord tech. No.
Well, you know.
Tibbetts Tech is open, public domain. Ask me anything, I will answer. Yeah, no, like during.
Can you own the copyrights to most of your tech, though? Ah, that's the question.
Copyrighted your tech? No. Like during T20, it's a competition where the winners win money.
Yes.
And a lot of us were like, oh yeah, this is how you play this level, this is how you do this.
That's always the awesome thing about this place is the openness of most of the tech.
Absolutely. I agree. It's people are almost always willing to show you exactly if you're in a troubled spot. Here's how you do it. Here's how I do it. Yeah, I'm all for freedom, baby. Peace, love, and freedom. Share that information.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jamie Tibbetts. Make sure you check him out on Shmuppin'.
Shmuppin'.
When will the next episode be going up?
I don't know. We've been getting lazy again. So, question mark? I don't know. Ask the ham bone. Where's the ham bone?
Well, hopefully soon.
He usually dictates when we do it, so.
They are quality.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Jamie Tibbetts. Thanks, everybody. This is Doc Mack from the Galloping Ghost Arcade, and we hope to see you around the arcade soon.